All right, here we are. Chad Townsend, he's back in again. Another podcaster like myself. Footy, we're a man of many talents, but let's get straight into that, bro. We've the podcast has had a bit of a rebrand, changing of name since I've seen you last. What was the reasoning behind now the Chad Townsend podcast over the Talk of the Town?
Yeah, so thanks for having us, Scope. Yeah, Chad Townsend show. I had it originally Talk of the Town podcast, and
I like that name too.
Yeah, it was good. Like, it was good play on words, but I was just telling Lukey when I got in here that I get a lot of my inspiration from American sports, and this guy who I really like to follow, his name is Pat Mcafee.
Yep.
Used to be a punter for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, we love it here too.
Yeah, mate, he's an absolute legend. You know, him and his mates are, on live on YouTube from, I think, 10 till 2 every day for 4 hours, talking sport, talking to, your man Aaron Rodgers on a weekly basis. And I just really loved, like, the branding of it. Obviously, it has his name. Everyone knows that it's associated with him. And I thought, for me, Talk of the Town podcast, while it sounded cool and obviously my face was the logo, I just thought the Chad Townsend show had a bit more appeal and people could link it to me. So that was, enhance, I guess, the reason why I changed it. So I've had a lot of good feedback from people saying that, they like it and I'm happy with it. So at the moment, I'm just going to move forward with it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I've never thought about that before, changing from the Scope to the Justin Horro podcast. But to be fair, and I've said this many a time, the Scope is way more famous than Justin Horro ever was. So I think I might keep it at the Scope. It's funny you mentioned that too, because we just finished a podcast with Money Munster, the Prez.
Yep.
And we got the idea about doing Skipper and the Prez off Rodgers and Pat Mcafee. That's how it all come up. We were speaking to, Lukey mentioned, he goes, Rodgers has been going on Pat Mcafee show, and I didn't realise at that point, it was about 6 weeks ago, and I started watching it. It's like, fuck, we got to do that with one of the boys, obviously, and the Prez is all the rage at the moment, so seems like the perfect little identity for us to get in. Yeah,
definitely. Look, I think it's unreal, and like those guys obviously set, I think, the landscape in American sports, really set the bar or the precedence for content and what it's like to put out, and I guess even like access to players, and they've got such high profiles, and I think us in Australia, we're still learning that sort of phase, and I think we're definitely getting there. I think guys like yourself, YKTR Sports, Dan and Cam, Bloke in a Bar. There's a number of Instagram pages, and to an extent myself, where I just want to be like myself and just be out there. And if I can help, promote positive stories or good stories and create good content, for people that enjoy watching, I think that's, it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, 100%. I think in particular in the last, I think you mentioned Kempy, he's the GOAT. He sort of set the tone. He's been grinding away at it for about 4 or 5 years now. And he's obviously given us the opportunity now to get on board, and feel like in the last couple of years, like, even last year when we started this time last year, we had you and we were talking some stuff like so many boys like 257 Collective, KP and Connor are doing their thing as well. And there are a few more boys, and the more the merrier. Like I love listening to all the boys. I subscribe to all the boys. I love listening to all the podcasts. They have some good guests on it. So
I'm the same. Like I am someone who likes to put out like a lot of content, on social media, and like I've got a YouTube channel where I throw a few vlogs up, and if I record the podcast, I chuck it on there as well. But Sean Johnson just started a YouTube channel, and like he's one of my good mates, and I love watching his stuff. It's like if one of my mates or another, let's call it like NRL brotherhood, because at the end of the day, like we're all look after each other, I guess, off the field. But I think it's cool that people are putting themselves out there now, where like potentially in the past it might have been, they might have been a bit shy or a bit worried about what other people think. But now it's like, man, just go for it. Be you, be unique, and put yourself out there, because at the end of the day, like, your mates are going to support you. Yeah,
for sure. And it's part you mentioned, it's about the podcast and the brotherhood and whatnot. Because I remember I finished in 15, and, sort of on the back end of where I was going, I felt like there was a bit of transition that was changing. And me and Ice were ring-ins in the Queensland fucking Mad Monday just recently. And he goes, do you reckon this would have happened 5 years ago? Like we would be able to be invited there, or players integrate? Like we go up to Byron, we run into a few people, we all end up catching up together, we have a beer, we talk about, probably fuck all about footy, and we end up talking about, what we've been doing in everyday life. And I think this is a big part of it as well. I think, getting together and having chats like this.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think social media has really opened doors into, I guess, all of our lives. But the fact that, people might not know even who you are or have met you, but they might have seen you online. And in a way, like they know the scope. They know what the scope's about. You know what I mean? And I get that is like, that's a positive, I guess, of social media. Obviously, like there's a few negatives as well, but there's so many positives. And for me, I'm someone who will always try and use social media in a positive way. Like I'm on there to spread like love, spread good content. If someone writes a good comment to me, like I'll like it, I'll reply to you. But like there's obviously a few dickheads out there that, you know, love to DM and you got to deal with that however you want. But you know, at the end of the day, it's all fun.
Yeah, it's nice and easy just to block them and get away.
Block and delete.
Yeah, just block and delete and move on, and then you just concentrate on all the guys that are boosting up and telling you grouse.
100%.
Speaking of grouse, the new beer, brother. Cronulla beer. How did it come about? Who's involved, and where are you selling right now?
Yeah, it's a business. A few mates and I have sort of been doing behind the scenes for about 12 months. Last December, you know, my best mate came to me and I've known him since we were about 4 years old. We started playing footy together and, you know, we grew up, went to the same school, played footy together. And, you know, we'd always joked about, I guess, having our own business and starting something. And we, you know, when we were younger, we used to love watching MTV, Rob Dyrdek, Fantasy Factory. Just it was such a cool show. It had such a cool vibe. And just see Rob, like he was a professional skater, had his own factory.
Yeah,
you know,
is that when they had the factory and he had the office up the top and they would all just be skating?
Had like a basketball ring and half pipe, and you know, obviously he had, you know, he was sponsored by DC, or I think he started DC, and I was like, man, we got to get a Fantasy Factory one day. Let's start our own business or whatever we're going to do. And you know, we tossed up a heap of ideas over the last few years, and getting into business was something I always wanted to do, but I wanted to make sure it was like the right thing for me, and I thought it was the right feel. And we tossed up a lot of ideas, and my best mate came to me, and it's funny actually, his parents came over too that day. We were catching up because we were quite close family friends, and he said to me, mate, I've got this idea. I need to talk to you a bit more. And I was like, all right, sweet. So his parents left and he was going down to next door. So I was like, mate, I'm coming down next door with you in Cronulla. So we sat down in next door and we had a bit of, you know, we're at the end of the table, and he said to me, mate, what do you think of Cronulla Beer Co? I was like, mate, I just got tingles down the back of my spine. I was like, mate, I absolutely love it. Like, he's like, mate, craft beer, because, you know, my mates and I, we were quite into like the crafty, fruity, hoppy beers. And then pretty much from then on, it went, you know, pretty much 12 months of behind the scenes work, things like, you know, licensing, registering a business, trademarking, you know, a lot of back and forth with documents and stuff like that. And, you know, even like branding, getting the can design, making sure the colours and the palette and everything's fine. And then probably about 9 months of research and development on the recipe. So Tim, our head brewer, there's 5 of us involved. He brewed about 9 or 10 batches of our beer in his garage, and he's been brewing beer in his garage for about 10, 12 years. And then every batch we'd brew, we'd give feedback, give them out to our friends and family, say, what do you think? And there'd be 2, and they'd say, oh, look, I like A or I like B better. And then you take all the feedback and put it into the next one. And then the next one.
That would have been a nice little process.
It was
Should
fun.
Give me a call, mate. I would have tested a few for you.
It was fun. You know, it was tough though, because like obviously throughout the year, you know, we had COVID and the bubble, and I actually wasn't able to go to any meetings physically, so we did a lot of our stuff on Zoom, which was quite hard. But you know, sort of come out of that, and now, you know, we launched probably about a month and a half ago. We're in a lot of really nice locations in the Shire, like places like Next Door, you know, Zinc Bar.
You're next door, are you? Shout out Next Door, the local. Love heading down there.
Yeah, Croydon Lane.
Want us to go treat myself to one on the weekend.
Even like, you know, a few really classy, nice pubs. Ferros Group, like the Highfield Botanical Public House. Tarrant Point Pub, the Prince, Miranda Hotel. Like the full list of locations, there's a tab on our website, www.cronullabeerco.com.au. But I mean, it's been like such an incredible journey. We've had so much support from, you know, a lot of friends, family, locals, especially Shire people, because, you know,
that's where you want it to hit, eh?
Yeah, like
you want to make sure the Shire.
Shire's like it's our home, right? It's our target market. We want to be, you know, the best craft beer in the Shire. Obviously, our name represents, you know, where we're from, Cronulla Beer Co. But you know, just to have the support of like the local establishments who have really just gotten behind us, like we just want to, you know, service them really well, and then hopefully we can grow into, you know, a lot of the area.
That's unreal, mate. Happy for you. We're going to have to go test one on the weekend, like
yeah,
I said.
I actually should have brought you. I got a case at home. I probably should have brought something.
That's right. Well, I'll come around. We don't live too far away from each other. I'll cruise over, send me your address. I'll come grab it after. Speaking of heading back to Cronulla, let's talk about the season, a little bit about the season.
Yep.
You was a very hard read to get on to this year. You spoke about when you first come on, I think it was just before the season started and COVID all hit and whatnot. And obviously Gal moving on, some big shoes to fill. I thought some of the younger boys blooded some nice youngsters that are going to be good for you in the future going forward. But it was very hard to get a read on you week to week.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I thought probably the last 2 years, I think we've been inconsistent with our performances. Like I think our best performance and our worst performance, the gap between them is too far.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about that as a playing group, and I think it's due to the fact that the previous few years, 18, 17, 16 and 15, like we kind of changed the culture at Cronulla where Cronulla we're not the cellar dwellers anymore. We were a club for a long time that hadn't had success, hadn't won a competition and kind of missed the eight, a lot of times. But, over that period of, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, like, we were finishing in the top four regularly. Like we changed the culture. It was like Sharks, they couldn't attack, but now, we can attack. Like we've got plenty of attack in us. It's funny I talk about attack, and we all, obviously myself, like being a halfback, love attacking. But the last 2 years, probably our defense has been, where we need the most improvement. You look at teams like, you look at the Panthers, right, and I think they averaged like 12 points against during the year, and the Storm might have been just over that. And they were the best two defensive teams in 2020, and it's no wonder they're in the grand final. You look at the way the Storm defended in the grand final, and I was lucky enough to call the game on radio in the commentary box, and I watched it and I was just blown away by their line speed. Their middles were working extremely hard. So for us, we were extremely inconsistent. We had some great performances. Like you said, we blooded some really, really good kids. Like, Sifa Talakai, man,
he's going to be a player, man.
Oh, mate. He came to us on a train and trial contract.
Yep. Where did he come from, bro?
So he debuted. He's a Souths junior.
I thought so.
The
boys
at
are Souths.
But then he got himself in a bit of trouble. I'm not exactly sure what happened. Got released from Souths, went to the Panthers and played a little bit of second grade, and then I'm pretty sure he got released from the Panthers as well. So he was looking for an opportunity. Last year he played in our Newtown feeder team, and they obviously won the competition, won the state cup, and had a tremendous year. And a lot of those boys came into our full-time squad, and Sifa got a train and trial contract. And same as Royce Hunt, who came across from Mounties. And both those boys had train trial deals. They trained their asses off in the preseason. They trialled really well. And then before you know it, these boys are making their club debut. Royce was making his NRL debut, and Sifa's playing his club debut. And those boys had extremely good years, especially Sifa.
Yeah, the thing that stands out with Sifa is that hit that Peter Hickory tried to put on him. Holy cunt. Oh, bruh.
He's wider than he is taller.
Pet's my boy too, so as much as I enjoyed it, I was like fucking a little bit pissed off at him. But I thought on the back end, a couple of young players, really stood up. A few of the older boys probably, would be second gear. I know I hang out with Moiser a bit. We're speaking a little bit off there. A real big season for Moiser coming up, but I know that he's been putting in that prep. He's been training, trying to get those hammies right, doing everything. He's going to see a couple of people away from footy. So I think he's training with Roger Fabry, who's the speed guru. I know he's been training with Benny Roberts, who's been doing some good stuff, knees over toes, and working on the hamstring strength and all that. So hopefully he can have a big season for you next year.
Yeah, definitely. Look, there's no doubt it's a big year for Moiser, and I class Moiser as one of my good mates. So really got time for Moiser, get along with him really well, and I've had a lot of success on the field with Moiser. Like just a few years ago in 2018, we played together in the halves and lost to the Storm in the grand final qualifier. But for Moiser, we actually trained this morning together. Actually, did a running fitness session with.
How'd he go? Looking good,
mate. He looked really good. He was in front of me for a little bit of it. So there's no doubt, he's been putting the work in. I think he knows, what he needs to do this year. And myself as a teammate and us as a playing group, like we want to really get behind Moiser, because when Moiser's playing his best, like he's happy, he's floating around the field, he's icing passes, he's coming up with plays that you're just like, wow, like he can do things on the field that I can't. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there in awe going, man, some of the passes he's done in training are like, whoa.
I said before, I feel like he just makes the right decision every time.
Yeah.
Especially when he's fully fit and he's flowing.
Yep.
And it doesn't even have to be for a try or a little kick for a try or whatever. Just the right pass that leads to a quick play of the ball you can roll in the back of, and the sets just fucking roll nicely for you. It's I said before, it's a bit high praise. It reminds me a bit like Brett Stewart and even Darren Lockyer to an extent where, you know, they always come up with the right play. And I know Moyes has got that in him. He's just got to get back to it.
100%. Like, at his best, Moyes has played for Australia and he's played State of Origin.
Yeah.
He loves the short side. He's got a great left foot step. And the thing that's let him down over the last 2 years has been his body.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is, like, there was a time there during the year where I was actually out injured with my calf. I tore my calf, missed a few weeks, and Moyes went in and played in the halves. But he wasn't 100%. His hamstrings weren't 100%. He couldn't sprint, but he was playing. And he made a few errors on the field, and people were bagging him left, right, and centre. But they're like, you don't actually know what this guy's going through at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, he's putting the team first ahead of himself.
Yeah.
And going out there and trying to bust his backside to play and offer the team something, but his body was letting him down. So mentally, I've got no doubt, like, that would have taken a little bit of a toll on him. Like I said, myself as a teammate and us as a playing group, like, we want to get round Moiser as much as we can because, you know, if we're going to do something in 2021, you know, we need him firing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him go because I know that he's got like a burning flame to prove a lot of people wrong inside him.
And speaking about time off the field, mate, I asked a few of the degenerates some questions. A lot of them, I wanted all NFL questions, but I got a fucking whole heap of the KP shot.
Yeah.
Little brain snap from you. I've never seen you do anything like that before. I know it was one of those games, a lot of motion in it.
Yeah.
Geez, you come flying and you got him good.
Yeah, like, you know, a lot of people are like, obviously, I think it's because
you got a bit of flack about it too. Eh? You get hammered a bit?
I got hammered.
Yeah.
But, like, I had a lot of people support me too.
Yeah.
And, like, that stuff that's no skin off my nose, sorry. Like, you know, at the end of the day, just trying to compete. Obviously, you know, it was never my intention to take his head off.
Yeah.
But, you know,
I thought originally you hit him pretty clean.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like, and then it didn't look good, the finished product, because obviously the head goes back.
On the field, like, you know, and you'd attest this as well, like, you're not mates when you're playing against each other.
Yeah,
Like, you're trying to take each other's heads off. And at the end of the day, like, you shake hands and I'm happy to, you know, move on. And I've admitted that I got it wrong. And the biggest thing that hurt me was just like, man, I've let my teammates down. I've been suspended for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
can't play for 3 weeks. We're looking to get in the
finals. Yeah.
Like, that hurt the most.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing. But how I saw it was, you know, the game, our team, we just weren't playing well. We had a number of errors. We're on the back foot. We were losing. We felt so good going into the game. And before that event, I was just trying to hype up a bit in the energy within our team. And Toby Rudolph came over to me and he's like, mate, you're leading the energy right now. Like, chasing from marker, trying to make tackles and just trying to try and spark something from our team to change a bit of the momentum. And then, you know, I kicked the ball and it went 7 tackles, and I just sort of got back on side and I saw KP tap it and move off the line, and I just was like, I'm going to hit him.
Tell you what, if you got him clean, it's a big play.
Yeah.
They've got, like you said, they've got a lot of momentum. They're coming back. You boys were struggling a little bit to get some fucking...
Because, you know, like, the 20 taps, they happen so
fucking
quickly.
oath. If you can get a clean tackle, slow it down straight away, it ends up being a really big advantage for you defensively if you get it right.
Definitely. And look, I've admitted that I got it wrong, but at the end of the day, like, I'm just trying to do something good for my teammates. I'm trying to change the momentum. I'm trying to compete for my team. And like, got sent off. First time I've ever been sent off or put in the... I've never been put in the bin either.
Yeah.
And I was like, Ben Cummins sent me off, and there's one of my mates sent me a photo, and it's Ben Cummins like,
how
doing
good.
This, and I'm just like...
You get that fucking framed and put up in the war at home.
So I copped a bit as I was going off the field, and then after the game I was like, you know, apologised to my teammates, you know, in the dressing room, and then publicly when I made a statement a few days after, because I kind of wanted to address it, because obviously, like, it was getting replayed everywhere.
Your teammates, none of your teammates would have cared. Teammates would have loved it, if anything.
Loved it.
Not seeing KP get hammered, but seeing, mate. I always speak about the toughest person I ever played was Kieran Foran, because he was a fucking half and he used to get after it all the time. So all the boys love it when a little halfback comes fucking flying in and tries to do that.
The forwards loved it the most, probably, and like I said, it's not because of the sheer fact that you know,
that he got hit or what happened.
It was, you know, just the act of trying to, you know, put your body on the line And obviously us, halves kind of get a rap about, being soft, being a spot player for a lot of the offense. But yeah, like I put out, a statement on my Instagram and spoke to a few people about, what they thought I should say. And I sort of had to think to myself and came up with what I wanted to say and addressed it, and then moved on from then. And since then, actually saw like in the final series, they put it in like the hype package. See? And I was like, man, I got suspended 3 weeks for that.
Yeah,
playing it.
Hey, they do this every year on Origin, right?
So you give me shit about doing it, and then you replay it.
Yeah, they do that all the time. So they always talk about we've got to ban the biff. We can't do any of those. But whenever they show highlights of Origin, it's people punching on and fucking shoulder barges and whatnot.
Yeah,
so
I mean, because people want to see that stuff. Yeah. It's just, hopefully, people don't get injured. And like I said, it was never my intention to hurt KP. And, let's I guess we'll see what happens next time.
He's all right, mate. He came on the companion a couple of weeks ago. He was in good spirits. He had a bung shoulder. I don't know if that was from your hits or... But he's going all right. And just quickly touch on Toby Rudolph. He had a really nice season.
Yeah.
Was he a bit of a journey, a bit older, 23, and he's a bit of a character too, which I love. I've seen some of his stuff on TikTok.
Mate,
so
you should get him on here.
Yeah. He's a good. I heard he's a fucking giggle.
Oh mate, he's an absolute giggle. He came to us from Redcliffe after they won the Queensland Cup last year. The previous year, 2018, he'd done his ACL in the grand final. So pretty much missed all of 2019, came back the back end of the year, played one game, and then played the final series with Newtown, won all the New South Wales Cup, the state championship, and he won like the Man of the Match award, which is like obviously the Clive Churchill in NRL.
Yeah.
So he came to the club calling himself Clive Churchill. Call me Clive. And then so he won it for Redcliffe, right?
Yeah.
And then he won it for Newtown.
Yeah.
So it's like back-to-back Clives.
Fuck, he used to. That's unreal.
But, to his credit, he kind of came to us and sort of was a bit on the fringe, didn't really fit in with the group because people weren't really sure, wow, this guy's full of personality. He's out there like, he's just naked all the time in the sheds. But then after sort of 12 months of understanding who he was, it's like, man, this guy's like, he's one of us now. He's fit in. Yeah. Made his NRL debut in round one.
He even backflipped it. He was supposed to go to Warriors and then he decided to stay. So the boys must have really embraced him.
We did. We wanted to get around and we spoke to the club and we're like, man, you need to keep this guy. Like, we love having him here. Yeah. And that decision for him to go to the Warriors was just before COVID hit, and he just wasn't sure about what his future would hold because he was off contract. He had a contract there from the Warriors to sign, so he verbally agreed to it. Yeah. But ended up deciding. I know he had other factors with family to come into consideration with it as well. So, but happy he's staying.
Yeah, unreal, mate. That was way more NRL chat than I was expecting because I got you in here to talk NFL. So let's talk NFL. I haven't done it in a minute. Yeah. I said to you before, generally when this is NFL season, we're well and truly in NFL season, but because of circumstances, there's been so much NRL on. We'll get into a few things. Well, let's start off with our fantasy group that I started. I apologise for that. And I tell you what, it hasn't suited me well. I'm second last at the moment and looking at relegation.
You get relegated? Oh, man.
That'll be a giggle, but I made that comp so hard. What about, so how are you going in that fantasy group and how are you going in other fantasy groups? How's your fantasy season been going?
Yeah, look, I'm in 3 fantasy leagues. I'm in, obviously, All-Stars Dynasty, L1, which is...
The Aldi app?
Oh, the Aldi
Have you got used to it? Do you like the Aldi app now? Or?
I can't say I like it. Just because I'm used to like the other ones.
Yeah.
But I'm in 3 leagues and I've got 3 different apps.
Yeah, okay.
So
that's hard work.
But look, our league's like extremely difficult. Like I'm looking for quarterbacks to put on. Like I've got Drew Brees who's injured, and then you're trying to find people who are available. Yeah. Like there's times where I've had to put people in who aren't even playing just because I don't have the personnel. But I think I'm like 4 and 7.
Yeah, okay.
In our
so you're not too. You're just above me then.
Yeah,
I'm 3 and 6.
I'm not going the best to be honest, but in my other leagues, I'm in a sleeper league as well. Moving the chains, a little side podcast I do with a few of the boys who are in our league, and I think I'm about 5 and 6 in that league. So I'm pretty. But then in my other league, my Sharks one, or the sort of older Sharks one, where I'm with like Birdie, Val, Wade Graham,
Benny, and that's still in that one.
Yeah, Benny Barber, Dukes. I'm going really well in that one. I've like 9 and 2.
Oh, grouse.
Yeah, so I've got a really good record. That's where I'm putting all my energy at the moment.
Yeah. How much, so I'm in 4 groups. I'm in 3 dynasties and 1 normal format. And my normal format isn't going good, the redraft, but I'm going really good in our OG Dynasty one. That's with like me, Ches, Jimmy Bura, Hainsey, like pretty much there's 4 or 5 in our.
Yeah, right.
So
how many years have you been doing that Dynasty?
4 years Dynasty.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we love that app. And then I'm also in another one with a few of the Queensland boys like Dale Copley, Lachlan Morena, Benny Hunt. They're in that one, and I'm going not too bad in that one. But now I've got to put my focus just to not getting relegated in our one.
Yeah.
Because now I'm top of the league in the OG one. So
you got to designate time, eh?
Yeah, you do. You got to start focusing on it. And you know what? When there's conflict of interest with the players that you got to, like one league, you're going, you know what? I really need it for my OG one, but I'm playing against someone who I've got in the All Stars.
I know that well. I know that.
Yeah.
It's hard, eh?
Yeah. So all right, let's get into the proper NFL chat. Your Browns going pretty good this year, especially even after losing OBJ, which looked like it might have derailed you a little bit. I always thought that it was going to be a positive for you. I felt like Baker was trying to force it too much with him. What's your thoughts on the Browns this year, Baker and OBJ?
Yeah, I probably agree with you. To be honest, I think, Odell obviously comes with so much attention. He's obviously got to have a certain amount of targets per game. There's that pressure on Baker to find him. But now that that's gone, I was really interested to see, how our team would go. And I think, on the back of Chubb and Hunt, who I think are the best 1-2 punch in the game, the best running game at the moment in the NFL, I think, they can potentially cause some damage at the moment. They're sitting above the Ravens. Obviously, the Steelers are 10-0. Pretty tough division in our one. But look, to be sitting 7-3 at this stage of the year, and especially, I guess, with the history that the Browns have, like they've got a history of losing, and they've only got to win one more game to, have a winning season. So it's going to be an interesting back end of the year. But I think to answer the question in terms of if up to now has been a successful year, I think it has. Yeah,
it has. Yeah, for sure. Do you think? How do you think like they'll get in? I feel like they're going to get in, like you said, maybe get in, sneak in the playoffs, win a game potentially.
Yeah,
but with so much. The AFC is so stacked, man. It's going to be hard for them to be genuine contenders.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think they can get in the playoffs, and I think like I just said before, I think what they really need to do is base their game on the run game. Like Chubb and Hunt, like they're unstoppable when they're both playing really well.
Yeah.
And I think, on the other side of the ball, you look at the defense, like Myles Garrett he's almost having like an MVP caliber season on the defensive side of the ball. The secondary's, gone reasonably well, Denzel Ward and a few others. But, I think the biggest thing has been Stefanski, the coach, who's come in from the Vikings. And he's really, got this team humming. And you look at the previous coaches and the amount of changes they've had at the head coach position. Like
they were changing the coach every season.
They signed Freddie Kitchens and he'd never coached before. And
that was an awful
hire. He was gone after 1 year. So, look, a bit of stability, winning season. I think it's a good time to be a Browns fan. Yeah.
So what about a few of speaking of the NFC North, a couple of big games this week, Ravens versus Steelers. It's a big game for the division. How do you think that's going to play out?
Look, I think the Steelers, I think they've got runs on the board, and I think the Ravens, they've hit a bit of a roadblock at the moment. Yep. I think Lamar's probably hitting a bit of a lull. Obviously, having that MVP season last year was incredible. And look, I'm one of his biggest fans, but I don't think he's having the same extent as what they had last year. I think their run game has been a little bit down. Mark Ingram hasn't been playing nowhere near his best.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins has had a reasonably good year for a rookie running back, but I think the Steelers are winning. They'll be they're 10-0 at the moment, so I think 11-0.
They're a pretty good chance of going all the way. They've got a relatively soft run home as well, so they could potentially finish 16-0, which would be massive. If you're looking at the AFC, and we'll get onto the AFC and NFC next as well. That's going to be crucial, that bye, especially if you get making the Chiefs play another game potentially, and the Chiefs running up against maybe someone that can knock them off, because that's ideally
their home ground too.
Exactly. Yeah. So when they get to the AFC Championship, might have to see each other. We touched a little bit on it, AFC versus NFC. Who do you think is going to win the AFC? Do you think it's going to come out of the Steelers and the Chiefs?
I think so. I think at this stage, look, you can't. The Chiefs just, what they've been able to do, even what they did on the weekend against the Raiders, like the way they came back and beat the Raiders. Like
the Raiders played so good.
The Raiders played amazing, and they're the team that's really tested the Chiefs over the last 2 years. So I don't know if that's John Gruden figuring out a few things, but look, I don't think you can count out the Chiefs. The amount of weapons that they have on offense, and they've obviously got Mahomes. They've probably got the best receiving core in the game.
Yeah. And even their backs can catch too.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be out of those two. But, you know, I even though I'm a Browns fan, like I like the Steelers, the franchise.
Yeah.
I like Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Even though we're division rivals, but I just think that culture in the Steelers, it actually reminds me a bit of Manly.
Yeah.
Like where people like, you know, potentially might not like the Steelers, but you know they've just got such a good respect them. Got a rich history.
Yeah,
you know, they've been successful. They've won Super Bowls.
Yeah,
they've got a stable coach and a stable quarterback.
They always seem to go under the radar too. Like not many people talk about them. I know last year because they lost Big Ben, people weren't talking about them so much. But fuck, they're undefeated this year, and you hardly like. Oh, you know, you're probably like me. You watch a lot of stuff. You go on. You watch a few of the talk shows over there. They never really talk about the Steelers, If anything, they've been bagging them because they've been talking about their lack of schedule, the lack of the strength of the schedule. So I wonder if that comes back to they'll use that as motivation, like we did at Manly. Like I know those are from the Desi days. Desi's back there now, but they love playing that underdog mentality. So
I think it suits them too.
It'll be pretty funny that an undefeated team's calling themselves the underdogs, but they potentially probably will be if they come up against the Chiefs. What about if in the NFC, who's going to win that? That's all over the shop.
Man, I don't even know where to start. It's literally anyone's race, I think.
I think the bye is going to be even more so crucial in the NFC to get that extra week, and other teams knock each other out, and then it's going to come down to matchups.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even like you look at the Seahawks, who the way they started the season, they've probably hit a little bit of a lull at the moment, but I think they'll be there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so open at the moment. Like, it's good to be a fan of the NFL right now.
Yeah, it is. It's a fun season. I think everyone's sort of worried about how sports was going to be because of COVID this year, but it's still been very enjoyable. I think if you're going to watch out for just like a bit of a smoky, because I think a smoky might creep through, is the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I know they just lost to the Seahawks on Thursday night last week, but I think they're the sort of team that a lot of teams won't want to play. Especially if the Seahawks,
D-Hop, man, that Hail Mary you caught the other week.
Oh, bro. How good was that? And how do you it's a bit like Lamar. So he was talking a bit about the Ravens. Like they figured out the blueprint for the Ravens this year. I think a lot of defenses because they got to watch him all off season. I don't think as many people did some film study on Kyler. Even though he had a relatively nice season last year.
I'll ask you a question. How are you feeling if you're Deshaun Watson right now?
Yeah, it's really a poor job that Bill O'Brien did before he got kicked out. And you know what? To be fair, they should have after he traded away those first round picks and all they gave up. I think the Laramie Tunsil one was, but like the Hopkins, I don't care if he wanted to get paid. There's a reason, and he's been barking at the Cardinals and saying that's the reason I'm going to get paid. That's why you pay for me to get me. And when he comes up with big plays like that, it's hard to argue,
100%. It's freaking incredible. I think, I actually feel for Deshaun Watson. I think he played unreal at the moment, beat the Patriots pretty much by himself on the weekend. But I think, he just needs more people to help him out. Yeah,
for sure. We asked a few questions. We've got about 4 or 5 here. The MVP, Russ versus Pat. How do you think that's going to shape up by the end of the year?
Yeah, look, I'm a massive fan of both the boys. I think for me, I would love to see Russ win it. Like I'm a big fan of Russ. I've always followed Russ. I think his play this year's been outstanding. I can't believe that he hasn't had an MVP vote
ever. Not one vote.
Can you believe that?
Ever.
He's a Super Bowl
crazy,
winner. And look,
he's been in some really good defensive teams too. Like the early part of his career, so maybe that was a little bit. But the last 2 or 3 years, not one vote.
He's been so consistent as well over a number of years. I actually really like what Russ does on his social media. He runs, East to West Empire, his media company, and one of his guys pretty much follows him around. He puts up some pretty cool content post game, and actually get a little bit of, try to copy a little bit. You
said that last time you were here that you really enjoyed his stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. And again, it goes back to what we were kind of talking about at the top of the show about, just seeing what American sports are doing and trying to just bring it down here and trying to improve it as well.
Yeah, go on. Who's the best rookie wide receiver at the moment? Who do you like the most anyway?
Look, I really enjoyed the draft this year, and obviously throughout the draft, like there was so much talk about, guys like, Jerry Jeudy, CD Lamb.
Yeah,
but
right.
for me,
CD Lamb's been nice considering
that catch on the
lost
weekend
Dak.
was incredible. For me, the guy who I think has stood head and shoulders above the rest of them has been Chase Claypool.
What about that?
10 touchdowns.
They know how to get a wide receiver in the second round. Those guys.
10 touchdowns in 10 games, and it's so. I guess it's so like the Steelers to find a hidden gem like that.
Yeah,
like they're reaping the rewards now of Chase Claypool, who kind of went a little bit underrated, come out of college, and now him and Juju have formed up a great tandem, and Ben seems to be finding him more than not. Yeah,
he can do a bit of everything. He's he had all the right measurables, but I think at Notre Dame he's probably just never had that quarterback.
Yeah, like he's been on the sweeps and the screens and the deep ball. Like he's doing everything at the moment, and it is really is opening up their passing game.
I got him in the OG dynasty too, so I hope he keeps going on like that. If you could have one NFL player play for the Cronulla Sharks, who and why?
Yeah, look, this is a good question actually, and there's so many of them that I think I would pick. But if I had to pick one, and I'd put him in the back row, edge back row, it'd be Travis Kelce.
Yeah,
yeah. I just think that the size, the speed,
mismatch, isn't he?
Toughness, the mismatch, and we spoke about picking on halves and putting bigger people on smaller.
Yeah,
like you said, the mismatch. But I think he would be
He'd
great.
just hold the ball like that, close to the line,
offload,
1-on-1, just boom.
But then there's other.
He might
guys,
even be comparable to like Sonny, bro.
Yep,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
If you run like that, he's got, for people that know, Travis Kelce's about fucking 6'6", 6'7", built like a brick shit house and can run. So I think what Chad's saying, get him on the left edge like a back rower, and he'd probably, because of the grid on, like he catches the ball with one hand as well.
Yeah, and even you look at guys like even his teammates like Tyreek Hill, the speed he has. But if I had to pick one, it'd be Travis Kelce.
Yeah, grouse. Good answer. Should the NFL move away from the division qualifications? I think that's obviously leading towards the NFC East and how poor that is this year. And just go to the top 8 ladder like we have in the NRL would probably be, because they have 8 on each side, or 6 on each side? 7 now because of the new format. Yep. So it might be like a top 14 or whatever.
Yeah, look, I think something definitely needs to happen. I think when we're looking at the NFC East at the moment.
That sucks that the NFC East is going to take a position in the playoffs.
Like I think the Eagles are at the top of the NFC East at the moment. They're 3-6.
And then they've got a tie. I think they tied with someone. They drew. So
they've got a losing record. Yeah. They're going to win that division, and I think it really does make the NFL look a little bit silly, especially with the poor amount of games in that whole division. Like it's a weak division. Obviously, the Cowboys have had their year after losing Dak, and I actually thought they were going to go pretty well this year, but obviously losing Dak was a big halt for them. So I think definitely something needs to be changed. The top 8 format, obviously in our sport, clearly works. Yeah. Whether those guys change, I think they've got such a rich history of what they do over there. So I think
it's a bit like us. I suggested that we could potentially do something like with divisions over here, and then me and Hocko did it, and we come up with the divisions, and it ended up being like almost exactly the same. So same top 8, but just in different orders.
Yep.
So we've got a lot of tradition here. It's going to be very hard to change over here. It's going to be very hard for them to change over there. But the last one, mate, I don't know if you've seen the DK Metcalf chase down a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
I've got a question. Addo Carr versus DK. Who wins the race?
Man, that's a good question.
I think the Fox might beat him if DK's chasing him like he was a couple of weeks ago.
If DK's chasing him, I'd like to see that because Foxy is obviously a lot smaller, but DK, man, he reminds me of bloody Megatron. Like his size, his length, like the technique he had, and who was he chasing down?
The safety, Buddha Baker.
Buddha Baker,
from Cardinals.
And he reeled him in. So
and like for those people that don't know, like more footy fans, like Buddha Baker can motor too. He can move. He's a fast safety.
Yeah.
And
so
he's
he might be the same size as Fox.
Yeah, probably he would be.
Maybe with DK's size, like his legs, he's able to take bigger strides. But man, if I had to pick one,
be cool to see.
If I had to pick one, I don't want to sit on the fence. I'd probably pick DK just because if he was chasing down. But it'd be good to see.
Well, anyway, thanks for coming on, bro. It's good to chat a bit of NFL. Glad the podcast is doing well. Changing the name, the Chad Townsend Show.
Yep.
And congrats with all the Cronulla beer as well, bro. I'm looking forward to might come around yours and grab a case.
Thanks, Buzz. I appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, brother.